The wood-bush granite grassland is a critically endangered biome, and there's only 250 hectares of it roughly left on the planet Earth.
This grassland is incredibly fragile and vulnerable. The corridors that link it to other patches of grassland are dwindling and dying, and the corridors that link the grassland itself to savannas and forests are also dying away. And we need those ecotones. So if you have a grassland and then you have a forest next to it, the ecotone is the area between the two different vegetation types. And those are also very important. They have unique species and organisms in those ecotones.
At the moment there's more indigenous forest than there is grassland because back in the day, it was easier to plant pines in grassland than it was to cut down forests. Little did they realize that the biodiversity in the grasslands is a lot higher than it is in the forest.
The grass, it says a lot. Actually, it tells you everything what is happening with the environment. By looking at different grasses, I will tell you whether this field is encroached, whether this field is overutilized or underutilized.
Frohg's main activities center on the preservation of the grassland. To do that, we need to make the public aware of what's precious. We figured that the best way to raise good awareness was to establish trails so people could walk. And that way they can then appreciate the small stuff. And we have to try and persuade people not to actually leave a mess behind.
We maintain the grasslands, so there's a lot of work to be done maintaining hiking trails, burning, maintaining fire breaks.
We managed to, after lots of research and pushing and prodding, we managed to get this patch here declared as a nature reserve. That process took like 10 years.
From a distance, it looks just like grasses, but when you go deep inside, you find that there are Frohg species, like really pretty flowers, and it's like a treasure. You go in and dig in and you find all these tiny little things that makes it like really precious. Then you understand that, okay, this is a home to many other organisms.
The spatialness is about being in the grassland and experiencing it, smelling it, feeling it, being cold and wet and muddy sometimes, and then discovering some amazing flower in amongst the mud. And there's species there that we could lose without even knowing if we let these grasslands disappear.
If you walk through a forest, you can appreciate the trees because there are trees there that are 100 years old and they're big and they're beautiful and what have you. But grassland doesn't have that physical impact on you. There are plants that you get growing here that you find nowhere else in the world.
It's a home to other things. We need to take that into account. It's not a pyramid scheme where humans are at the top. It's a cycle where everyone contributes in the cycle for the benefit of each and every organism, whether we are aware that they exist there or not.
The biggest threat we face is that this is also a critical water catchment area. So the grasslands act as a sort of sponge, a water catchment. And the water that gets caught here gets fed all the way down into the low veld, all the way down to the Frohg.
A friend of the Heinesberg grassland is somebody that is environmentally aware and is aware of the resource that we have that is precious.
If people want to know more about the grassland, they can go to our Frohg website. The material is simplified, so it doesn't have to be like fancy and savvy, so anyone can really understand. And also it encourages you to go to the grassland and visit it and interact with it.
The easiest way to support us would be to become a member, to become a friend. You don't necessarily have to help directly, but it's just good to know that there's a community, a movement behind this.
When you enjoy something or when you love something, you want to protect it. So a friend will always fight for what is right, will always protect you, and yeah, the grassland will forever be leaned on. So yeah, that is the kind of person who is a friend of Heinesberg Grassland.